Retro.
And welcome everybody to a Pinky in the Brain episode of the Animaniacast.
No, the only way to make them all is to pay a huge workforce.
Oh, I know, Brain. We can get a holiday job as mall security.
Please, Pinky, Yes! Pinky, this is it. Look.
Elves wanted for Holiday Rush. Apply North Pole.
Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Well, I think so, Brain, but apply North Pole to what?
The elves, Pinky. Santa's workshop is the most productive manufacturing facility in the world.
Apply North Pole to the elves?
Pinky, right now your brainwaves are giving the amazing Kreskin a pounding headache.
Welcome everybody once again to the Animaniacast. This, of course, is the podcast that is dedicated to the animated television series Animaniacs. And right now you might be asking yourself, what are we going to do tonight? Well, it's the same thing we do every night. We're going to be talking about Pinky and the Brain. That's right. Tonight we're going to be talking about Pinky and the Brain, but not just any episode of Pinky and the Brain. Once again, we're going to be revisiting A Pinky and the Brain Christmas. But we have some special guests with us. Aha! I am Joey, and joining me once again is my brother Nathan.
Look, a decoy.
And across the country in Georgia, there's Kelly.
Hello.
And it's Kelly's birthday today, by the way. So happy birthday, Kelly.
Thank you.
I could only sing the first two notes, otherwise you guys get fined or charged. So I just went happy.
Well, those lovely two notes that you just heard is from a returning guest who was just in our previous episode talking about his new movie.
I got nothing going on.
He's got nothing. He's so busy, but he's back with us once again to talk about A Pinky and the Brain Christmas. It's Maurice LaMarche. Hello, Mo.
Hello, guys and gal. And hello, our next guest.
That's right.
I've not seen him in quite a while, but within whom I hold much esteem.
Well, without this next person, we wouldn't see today's episode, I don't think, or certainly it wouldn't be to the quality that it is. That, of course, is today's writer of the episode. It's Mr. Peter Hastings. Welcome back to the show, Peter.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be back.
Hey, and well, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. This is going to be a great, I think, holiday treat for all the fans out there. Thank you guys both for coming on and talking about this fantastic episode. This episode of Pinky and the Brain has become a holiday tradition for so many people, and it's really stands above and beyond a lot of the traditional kind of Christmas specials one might see. For me, it's up there with Charlie Brown and Rudolph, and all the other classic ones that you might watch during the holidays.
It's better. It's better than those.
It's
much better.
It's the only one with Maurice LaMarche in it.
This is true.
Of the ones you mentioned,
of the ones I mentioned.
Although the Rudolph episode, the Rudolph special has Danny Mann's father as Yukon Cornelius.
Oh,
Danny Mann, of course, a veteran voice actor of my generation, fellow Torontonian, and he was very proud of the fact that his father was Yukon Cornelius. And actually, that whole special was done up in Canada, believe it or not. So
I had a dog named Yukon Cornelius.
Nice, but our episode is better than that one. So
okay,
but not better than your dog.
No, your dog is better than us.
Well,
at least it's sniffing other dogs and knowing who they are just from that.
Well, Peter, can you please tell us, I guess we should get right into it. Let's talk about how did this episode come to be? Like, obviously we had the spinoff, had been going on with the WB. Where was the decision made to make this Christmas special, and were there any troubles that you faced along the way with writing this episode?
Ha 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 ha. Yes. You guys probably know better than I do. Was this episode part of the Pinky and the Brain show, or was it part of Animaniacs?
It was Pinky and the Brain.
It was Pinky and the Brain channel. Okay.
First season, so episode 8.
All right. So basically what happened was that Tom Ruger and Gene McCurdy came to me. So I had, at that point, I had written the majority of the Pinky and the Brain episodes. And as you guys know, all of us wrote everything, but everybody kind of had specialties in terms of the characters that they wrote for. And the Pinky and the Brain was mine. And said, we want to do a Christmas special. And so then, so that was kind of all the direction I got. So then, I went home and just kind of tried to bang out a story. One of the ones that I came up with 2 main stories. One of them was sort of classic Animaniacs, Tiny Toons thing, which was to make a show about making a Christmas special, right? To just go meta on it, which we did all the time. So I had written one story where the brain realizes how emotional people are about Christmas specials, and he wants to take advantage of that. And so he comes up with a Christmas special called The Littlest Snowflake. And so it's all about them making the special. Then the other story I had was a bit more conventional, kind of Santa story, which is the one that we made. But I pitched both of them to Tom, and Tom went like, I think we got to do Santa. So we did the Santa story. But the writing of it for me is it was a bit of a life lesson because I had a really hard time figuring out the story. And the thing that makes this special particularly special, besides Maurice's voice performance, is the ending of it, is the denouement, is the whole thing with Pinky's letter to Santa. And I think that ended up being the whammy of this whole episode and really elevated it. Okay, but that didn't come for a while. I specifically remember being at my dining room table at 2:00 in the morning, free writing, trying to come up with something. And I can't find it, but I know I still have the notebook where that idea that it's like, oh my gosh, Pinky. Is this a safe place to drop spoilers for what we're about to watch?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so that Pinky, that Pinky's letter to Santa was all about the brain, and that the brain cries. And so when I come up with that, it was kind of funny because I read the script and there was a storyboard artist whose office was next to mine, Barry Caldwell. And when I first started on I guess Tiny Toons, Barry was very antagonistic towards me because I didn't have very much experience, and who was I to tell him what to do? But when he got the Pinky and the Brain Christmas thing, he came into my office holding the script and he said, "You made the brain cry. I love this script." And then he went on, he boarded kind of the last third or the second half of it and did a lot of the, he added so much that end when the brain is overcome with emotion, blows his plan off and then smashes everything, which is this wonderful expression, of emotion in that moment. But here's the thing. I struggled with that thing. I wanted to get fired. I was hoping they would cancel it. It was just like, this is torture. This is torture. But I figured it out, and we won a Primetime Emmy for that thing. And there's many times when I get into a stuck as a writer, and I go like, dude, remember Pinky and the Brain Christmas special? What happened with that? That turned out great. And maybe as a writer, one of the most satisfying emotional endings of like anything that I've ever written. So that part was a really big deal for me.
It's incredibly effective. I mean, people speak to it.
It doesn't cross the line into maudlin. That's the thing. It was a truly heartfelt but not syrupy ending, and as the actor who got to play it, it was just very satisfying to get to that note with this character who heretofore had only been a curmudgeon, and to see that, there's this soft spot that he has for Pinky. He dare not let it out too much.
Yeah.
But it was just really wonderful. Added another dimension to Brain for me as the actor.
Yeah, and always so because Mo just does such a great job, and I know kind of over time, I think you've morphed, you added a little more Vincent Price to the brain, but of course he started out really as pure Orson Welles, and for me as a writer, it was like I get to write for Orson Welles. It was like so much fun to because I could write these words and I knew that Mo was going to just deliver them perfectly in that voice, and it was always super fun to be able to do that. I love doing that. And the other thing, Mo, also is what you were mentioning is that I've always sort of felt a Pinky and the Brain much more of a love story than sort of the jerk and the idiot, and how much those guys need each other,
right?
To get stuff.
Well, I said since that episode, I always played that. Going forward, I discovered it with that episode. Up to that point, I just played him as this exasperated character who's stuck with this moron, in a cage, and he's just making the best of it. But seeing that there was, that he does see the good in Pinky in that episode, going forward, I just always kept it in here, as, in my heart as the character. It was always in the subtext from that day forward for me.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then, we went into production and, all turned out. And the show, it's every now and then we'd save a special episode to go to TMS, which was our stellar animation studio in Japan that just kind of did a better job than everybody else.
The animation on it is
it's really
so beautiful.
Yeah. And, we did this sort of classic thing that every show does. It's just like, are we going to make a new main title? It's like, can't we just put snow on the front of the old one? which basically we did.
But anyway, you did do new lyrics though to it, which
there are new lyrics, and I'm going to just say this here before we get into it. At the very end of the theme song, so Richard Stone, of course, who was the composer, he threw in, there's jingle bells in the theme and stuff like that. They re-recorded the music, but if you listen carefully, at the very end, there's a quote from the Christmas Carol, Good King Wenceslas, and the line is, "Good King Wenceslas looked down on the feast of Stephen." So that's when it says Steven Spielberg presents Pinky and the Brain, and that music is just tucked in there a little bit. And I was like, Richard, did you put that in there on purpose? And he goes, like, you heard it, you found it.
Wow.
Very inside. Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, we definitely have to listen for that.
Yep.
Yeah, wow.
Very taggable.
Very cool.
That's some inside baseball I even did not know. That's amazing. But that's how amazing Richard was too.
Yes.
He was so phenomenal.
The thing about Richard is that he really, truly loved what he was doing. He wasn't a guy doing cartoons and it's like, oh, I wish I could get a Batman movie. He loved doing his cartoons.
It's one of the things that we really love about analyzing these cartoons is not only do you have the great cultural references to the 90s, but also going back to the 50s, 40s, 30s, etc. But then you have this underpinning of the musical score, which is references, which are additional jokes sometimes right there based upon what's going on. Might be if you know the lyrics to the song that's being played, there's another verbal joke, a pun going on at the same time, which is always an added bonus. So yeah, he and the Bernsteins are just amazing doing that stuff.
Well, and then also as composers, they're super privileged that you've got Steven Spielberg attached to the series, and he insists on an orchestra. There's no cartoons doing that. You have a budget that's almost 10 times what a normal cartoon music budget is.
Yeah,
and that's been fantastic. Yeah, super fun.
I have that Good King Wenceslas song in my head.
Well, it's not a bad time for it.
Let's see, Mo, I guess before we get going, I just had a quick question for you as well, Maurice. Now, was this the first time when you walked into the booth that day? Is this the first time that you got a chance to read the script, and how did that scene surprise you when you were first reading that? What was your reaction when you were first seeing those.
I have a, I will. I'll cop to the fact that I hardly ever look at the script in advance. But I don't remember if I was getting the Pinky and the Brain scripts in advance. I know that
we didn't send them out.
Okay, all right, thank you. Because I was also on the Critic at the same time, and they did send the script out. Because I'd sometimes have 20 parts to play, so that's a script I would study. I'd go over it and go, okay, who are they? Harvey Keitel. Okay, I've got to go to the movies and watch Harvey Keitel in the piano to get this voice down for this piano chair parody we're doing. So yeah, so when we table read it, which we would do on mic, that was the first I was hearing it. So, which is terrific because it's more immediate. We did not record the rehearsals, however, and when I got to the scene where Brain gets choked up, it was genuine. I mean, it was really organically happening to me because the story unfolded for me and for the character in that moment. And the tears and the catch in my voice was so organic, so real. And, Andrea turned and said, "Harry, did you get that?" And he went, "No, I never record the rehearsals." From that day forward, we recorded every rehearsal. And it was never that good ever again. Didn't matter how many seasons we were on. But that was unfortunate that we missed that lightning in a bottle. I did my best to recreate it when we went for the record. But that it really got me. It got me right in the, as we weren't saying at that time, but are saying now, the feels.
Mm-hmm.
The feels.
Yeah. I wish we'd been rolling on that rehearsal. Yeah.
I mean, because that was kind of a period of time where we would, like, the cast would arrive and just do a run through right before recording it. So it wasn't like a table read where you, like The Simpsons does, where you do a read and then they do another pass maybe. You would it was like a warm up for everybody and get levels and stuff like that, which generally doesn't. Nobody does it. The other thing,
nobody's doing that anymore.
No, and as a side note to not looking at the script, my assumption generally, because I didn't voice direct those shows, but I've done everything since then. I don't ever expect an actor to do it, because if you're bringing in somebody like Maurice, or you're bringing in Rob Paulson, or you're bringing in Tress, or somebody like that, they're just too good. You just don't really need to. Plus, you're there to direct them if they need to make adjustments. So when you have really, really strong people, they can just come in and knock it out, which certainly Mo and Rob did. Those records got really fun too, because Pinky the Brain has a small cast, and sometimes it's just like Mo and Rob, and there's maybe one other person there, and it was Harry, me, and Andrea. When we really got into the series, it was a very small crowd. Harry
Andronis, our late great engineer, and
we used to just knock those out. They were super fun.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time to go ahead and watch today's episode. We're going to all watch it together, and you folks at home, why don't you watch it as well? Ooh. We can all make sure that we're all synced up. This will be fantastic.
All watch it together.
Yay.
Set your VCRs.
Yes. Okay. Some of you probably still have that VCR up and ready to go, but otherwise you got your DVD, and it's of course on Hulu. Although I've heard that it may be leaving Hulu. The classic episodes may be leaving Hulu.
I mean, at some point in the future,
it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Get your physical media, folks.
But it's streaming somewhere, I bet,
somewhere legally or illegally.
They just generally jump from one platform to the next.
Exactly. Yeah. You can find it.
Here's hoping.
Well, Nathan, before we get going all together, can you please tell us how to make sure that we're all synced up at home?
Okay. So grab your streaming device or whatever it is. Go to season 1, episode 8, and you start the episode, but get ready because you're going to have to pause it as soon as Bugs Bunny fades to black. pause it, and then Joey's gonna count you off, and we'll start all together. Yeah,
Sounds like a plan.
and you'll unpause it, I guess, when he's done.
Yeah, you should unpause it at that point.
Because otherwise, you'll just be watching a black screen. That's no fun.
Yeah, that's no fun. So I will say, I'm going to count us down 1, 2, 3, and then I'll say go. And when I say go, ladies and gentlemen, that's when you go. You got it? Here we go. Oh, no, not that go. 1, 2, 3, and go.
Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
It worked.
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
And this is, I appreciated how we have the snow right here overlay like we did in Animaniacs, but as we can see, the lyrics are different, slightly.
Yeah, and different music, slightly. You know, like
Right. So he just put through jingle bells in there. And that.
There you go.
joy to the world as they destroy it.
Yes.
Okay, listen for it.
Now that
I got it.
that
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la.
Rob Paulson, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. This animation is so beautiful. It's so tight. I mean, it's almost this could be feature film animation.
Yeah, I believe this is the only time TMS did Pinky and the Brain. At least that's what I see from
and they did it
on the
a couple
for
times. Yeah, for Animaniacs.
for their own show. Yeah. But yeah, for on the spin-off show, this is the only time. According to Wikipedia.
Narf.
Hello.
So we have Noodle Noggin coming in here. Now, this was first in Puppet Rulers. Was this a conscious decision here, Peter, to call?
Yeah.
Writing a letter to Santa.
Puppet Rulers is interesting because it was all about how all of these directors were glorifying stuff from their childhood, like Spielberg making a Casper movie. And so that was all about, that they were going to get really famous in the 50s and then freeze themselves and come back and be really famous, but they got sued for breaking everybody's heart. And of course, now we're seeing the contraption that he uses later.
A chicken.
Oh, right. Cluck, cluck, cluck.
Now, you are standing on hot sand. Stop. Now, impersonate William F.
The
Buckley.
brilliance of that only Pinky wouldn't be smart enough to get
To move, yeah. I'm going to stand on hot sand. There we go.
Yes.
I was just thinking about that Regis Philbin reference because we used Regis Philbin a lot because of his silly energy. If his name had been Tom Brown, we wouldn't have been making fun of him. It was just like Regis Philbin.
Regis Philbin is a great comical name.
Is a
But
fantastically powerful dog. Behold,
William F.
Noodle
Buckley,
Noggin.
there's a reference
Yeah.
that you probably couldn't get away with today.
I know. Well, the great thing now is it's like he's, of course, the kid's not going to know who William F. Buckley is. Not that they did when this came out, but
Right.
it's one of those things where years later you read about William F. Buckley and you're like, that's who that guy is.
Who's next to talk to Santa?
I love all the failed plans.
Difficult to rule the world with no air in your lungs.
Oh, and there was that time we marketed ourselves as popular toys. Hey, that's right. We are.
These could all be their own episodes. Like,
So who else is in this movie? Earl Bowen plays Santa,
Fortunately.
Yep.
and
Tress is in it as the female pilot.
I think Jeff
Was a lot
Jeff Bennett.
Bennett.
Jeff Glenn
plays
Bennett.
the boss elf.
The head elf, yeah.
Yeah.
Enough. Let us focus on
That joke is dangerous. I kudos for trying it. But we go back to Bethlehem, and the implication is what?
Yeah.
What- What did we do when we were back there, Pinky?
My hypnotic suggestion to the world.
Impersonate Regis Philbin.
Obviously, it didn't work.
God, chaos.
No, Pinky. My message of world domination. That I shall be their ruler. Our only problem is that we need 1 billion Noodle Noggin dolls, and to make all of them ourselves would take 137 years.
Oh, well, we'd be pretty old by then, wouldn't we?
Yes, I believe we'd be 139. No, the only way to make them all...
That stuck around there for you a few times at the Pinky the Brain Bean 2.
I love the slow burn that I got to do.
Yes.
There. Yeah.
Yes. Pinky, this is it. Look.
Elves wanted for Holiday Rush. Apply North Pole.
Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Well, I think so, Brain, but apply North Pole to what?
It's one of the cases of me laughing ahead of the punchline, just knowing what it's going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apply North Pole to the elves?
Right now, your brainwaves are giving the amazing Kreskin a pounding headache.
There's another current reference.
Yeah.
Keep using Kreskin. He's like from my childhood. It's not even from my
Kreskin's
adulthood.
still around, by the way. That's the beauty of it.
He is on Twitter, and he loves it when he has been mentioned on Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs, by the way.
Yes.
He
has referred to the show.
Yes.
A side note on Are You Pondering What I'm Pondering? So when I wrote the very first script, Win Big, I wrote that in there, and I was like, Brain says, are you pondering what I'm pondering? I need something really silly for Pinky. And I walked around the office, and it was John McCann. I said, I need some weird non sequitur, and he said, where are we going to get a duck and a hose at this hour? And that was the origin of... Here's one of my favorite line reads.
North Pole! Right, Brain? Help me, Brain, that would be...
No.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just love saying that at the same time.
You know
almost.
what? If you hadn't pointed it out, I would have. I just love the way that scene played, and that was totally organic. You know, no, it was not planned that way; it just worked out that way.
So,
here's Tress.
Okay, Dave Burrell. That's my great grandfather's name. That's why that's there.
Ah.
And my father is David Burrell Hastings. This is Tress.
Don't talk much, do you? Yeah, had a boyfriend like you once. Always thinking. Real quiet. Turned out he was actually a propane tank, which explained a lot.
Love that line.
I miss him.
She misses him.
I know. Tress is so good at that.
Absolutely nobody can deliver a line like Tress. Just
I know.
genius.
And with that voice, too. It's like, I need a raspy old lady.
She can give you she'll ask you what age, how old, because she's got three different raspy ladies, you know?
Yeah.
Then they input the information into big computers.
Oh, yes, of course. The Santa computers that run on candy canes and potpourri. Now put it away and help me.
Take the wheel for a sec, okay? I'm gonna grab some coffee.
Take the wheel?
Hey! I said take the wheel! Shut the door! Shut the door! Dummy.
Get it? Dummy? Get it?
Yeah, the French. I think after we saw when we first saw that Orson Welles outtake from the on-camera wine commercial, did we take more opportunities to have Brain fall long distances just so we could say, yeah?
The French.
All right, we just went by our reference to Rudolph, Rankin Bass Rudolph. He wants to be a
that one got me.
Dentist.
Now we must find Santa's workshop.
Hey, Gadbrain, look!
Time for our job interview. Remember, we must be convincing as elves.
You look smashing, Brain.
Narf.
Sort of like a young Sigmund Freud.
Why, thank you, Pinky. Although I consider myself young.
For the kids.
Yeah, I was going to say. There's one that took 20 years to set in.
Yeah.
They're revisiting it now.
I have advanced knowledge of mechanical design.
All right, this is Jeff
electrical
Bennett
engineering,
here.
Product development, draftsmanship, ergonomics.
Good. You're starting the mailroom.
Isn't this great, Frank?
Doing a somewhat Joe Pesci kind of take
Yeah.
on the coming
To our
elf.
advantage.
Yeah.
Take this letter, for example. Danny Oren.
Okay, that's my nephew's name is Daniel Orrin Hastings.
Noggin doll.
That's my nephew, Danny Orrin.
What is this Noodle Noggin doll? I don't recall that.
Yeah, well, Mr. C,
Right,
not
Earl
really
Bowen.
sure.
So
I got those dumb
Earl
guys
Bowen
down
was
at the
Earl Bowen was the
Whatever it is,
dean
we're gonna need
in
a lot of them.
Animal House. Is that right?
On this spreadsheet is asking for one.
I forget. You're on
I
Double Secret-
don't know,
Double
but he
Secret
was the
Probation?
psychiatrist in all the Terminator movies.
Oh, right.
Those blueprints.
Yes.
Yo, I'm on it.
And Shotzi. What's with that goatee? Is that still in?
Whoa.
It's a very '90s reference to when people it was like a fad, and of course it never did go away.
Yeah.
Somehow the
Yeah.
idea of joining
He has the
Donner
ponytail there,
is
too.
unappealing. Almost
There's one of my favorite lines right there.
Yep.
And
And again, another time release joke for the '90s kids, you know,
Right.
who are getting it now. And of course,
we must hurry.
your genius here. I'd never heard of the Donner Party, so I delivered the line without knowing what the hell I was saying.
That's a,
we didn't
that's a
have
problem
that.
with
We
Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have. I was going to say we didn't have those cannibals. We had Canadian cannibals who
Right.
only ate people that had pea meal around them.
So this episode was nominated for an Annie Award in the early years of the Annie Awards when they only had one writing category. So it was up against Toy Story in the writing category. Amazingly didn't win, but my favorite part was the clip that they showed was that joke about the Donner Party, about something unappealing about joining the Donner Party, which got a nice laugh in the room. So that was my winning moment at those Annie Awards.
Look, a decoy.
Hey!
And it's a great decoy. Distraction.
Barbie,
Go-go van.
Can't start it. What's under the
I love this.
Lipstick.
You horrible sexist person. Okay.
Yeah, well,
Let's roll.
it was in the 90s. It was
It
true.
was a different time.
Classic. Slow
The Come On Mama
The
reading.
Come On Mama. Love
Come on,
love
Mama.
that.
Yes.
There you go, Mo. Classic, yes.
I don't have control.
The yes of brain came from the frozen peas outtake, and
Yes.
that we just kept writing yes because the way Orson said yes when they asked him if he was.
Canadian elves trying
Freak.
to blend in.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you. And that was for me, right, Peter? The Canadian reference there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yes, always.
And a little O Canada in there. See the genius of Richard Stone.
Yeah.
Want to
Amazing.
explain these fake ears?
Well, you put them here, and they make your ears all pointy, see?
See?
Shotzi.
And of course, the one thing we always do to people in North Pole when we interrogate them, remove their clothes.
A little industrial espionage, huh? Who you working for? The Easter Bunny? The Tooth Fairy? Herschel the Hanukkah Goblin?
Oh, no. Vane drew those plans himself. Why,
Well, gosh darn it, you caught me. Shucks. Now you'll just have to make those dolls.
You got it, booby. Okay, get these plans on the floor, retool, double up speed. Come on, let's go. We need 1 billion of these before Santa leaves.
Fancy
And
fake
as
lens
for
flare.
you two,
What was that, Peter? I missed.
Fancy fake lens flare.
Oh yeah,
fun.
J.J. Abrams was still in high school, and we did it first, baby. This is Richard's take on
Powerhouse.
Powerhouse. Yes,
Powerhouse, which
Ridley
he
Scott
was like his
classic.
inverted melody that he called Howard Pouse.
Howard Pouse. I
Yeah.
love it.
Because
Well, he already used Powerhouse in an Animaniacs episode, did he not?
I don't
Yeah.
know, but it was a standard. It was a Carl Stalling standard,
Look like me.
Yeah.
Right.
and then I don't think he could officially use it. So he came up with Howard Powell.
Shotzi, Santa's about to leave and he can't
You know,
remember
the
that
parody,
thing he says.
the guidelines for parody were a lot easier in the 90s than they are now.
Yeah. That was me in my other role that bumped me up to scale plus 10%, the Chicago-born elf that just spoke to Shotzi.
Doesn't seem like he's putting it in every one. It seemed like he skipped.
There must be another guy. Yeah.
Oh, the other guy down the road. Okay. I love that Santa forgot ho ho ho, I'm guessing. You forgot the thing he says. I'm guessing it's.
Beautiful off-camera gag. Okay.
Yeah. Ow. This guy.
With the cigarette, or is that a lollipop?
The candy cane. Yeah.
Candy cane, yeah.
Candy cane.
Pouring the rejects in that North Pole dumpster.
At least the garbage stays fresh.
Santa's sleigh is loaded with our dolls.
The lighting in this really is amazing. The shadows and everything, just really awesome.
Yeah.
Will you forget that stupid letter?
Brain, where's your Christmas spirit?
Stashed away with my Bigfoot photos.
Oh, you curmudgeon.
We've got important things to do.
Yes. I'm very curmudgeonly.
Everyone? On Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, on Blitzer.
Seems so much shorter without commercials.
Just act natural, Pinky.
Right, Brain.
That was a beautiful touch. I mean, anybody else would have just had them stash away in the toys, but this is such an opportunity here.
Moo.
But, you know, it's just continually, you know, one of the
Comedy.
hallmarks of Pinky and the Brain is that, Brain tells the truth about what he's doing and nobody buys it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Pinky, the
Well,
lab.
it's very Grinch, like Max with the
Now.
Mm-hmm. The
reindeer horns.
branch on his head, yeah.
This particular scheme has a physicality to it that I dislike immensely.
Now that is like a
Yes.
classic, like,
Yeah.
I get to write this line that Orson Welles is going to say.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Physicality of this.
We must
Yes.
move.
The
There's not much time.
the understatement.
The understatement
Master
and
of
yet-
understatement.
And yet
And while in immense pain.
and the verbosity at the same time.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, kids.
That was you.
That was me as the dad. I now look like that.
Bill Clinton.
Pinky,
Frank
get me a
Welker.
paperclip from the bag.
Did Frank do that? He's come in for that?
My letter to Santa.
Pinky, not that.
I think it might be him. I think it is. I think you get a better
But Brain, my letter
audio
to
of him later.
Santa, it's still here.
I don't care about your stupid letter.
This is, you guys are now, we're now approaching the highlights of my 30 years of writing cartoons.
Pinky, we've got to get this thing working.
I love how Richard builds the suspense with the music. It's so great.
Yeah.
There. Now, Pinky.
And Steve wrote a bunch of this one too.
But Brain, I didn't give it.
Rob is so heartfelt here. It's brilliant.
Very important.
Give me that stupid letter.
It's a great build up.
Now throw the switch when the meter hits red.
Great setup.
I love the dilated pupils.
Santa, hello, haha, narf. This year, Santa, I ask for nothing, but I wish to tell you about my dear friend, the Brain. He is honest and very hardworking, and only wants what's best for the world, but he gets no reward. He is only greeted with defeat. He never gives up, but I know it must be very hard. So please, take anything that you had for me and give it to my best friend in the whole world, the Brain.
Aww.
Love, Pinky. P.S. By any chance do you have in that big old bag of yours the the world.
You're on.
So coming up, this is the part that Barry added. I mean, after Brain says Merry Christmas.
Hey, look at that.
You're on, Brain.
Ladies and gentlemen of the world, you will do as I say. For I command you. I command you to.
Sweet.
Have a Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas. Joy to the world. Yes.
Yes.
And here we have the only time that Brain succeeded.
Right. That's right. Good point. I kind of feel like that, that he breaks that thing apart. If I put that in the script, some probably said like, "That's weird. You can't do that." But it happened in the storyboards, and so you could see that it worked.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Pinky.
Oh, Brain. For me? Oh, a spell checker. Oh, thank you.
There's a relic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say not true, retro.
Thank you, Pinky. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Brain. Joy to the world. North, 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 north.
Is that necessary?
Hark the herald angels sing. They're Pinky, and the brain.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm choking up.
All right, who's crying? Who's crying?
Peter Hastings.
I'm not crying. You're crying.
Every time I watch that, I think something a little different there. The love that they share for each other in that moment. I mean, even like just obviously like the Brain, is the one that shows how much he cares for Pinky, but Pinky, I mean, just him saying that, "Go on, you're on." The
open arms that he shows to Brain is like, it's like a forthcoming hug, even without. It's such a beautiful moment of animation. You could tell Brain melted a little bit more at that moment where he had that thought of, what kind of jerk am I? What kind of jerk am I?
I mean, I do love that when Pinky does his hands to kind of like, okay, all right, you can do it. Just total support. Right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I've written stuff and I'm like, how do you make people cry in a story? And it's like, well, you make something really sad. And it's like, no, the stuff that really makes you cry is that giving, is that pure acts of kindness that people do. When the person shows up at your door with a casserole kind of thing, or this sort of stuff.
Gift to the Magi stuff.
Yeah, which really happens in there. But that that ending is why I have an Emmy for that show, and a few other people. Maurice is also an Emmy award-winning voice actor. Although there was a time when he liked to say he was the only person from Pinky and the Brain that had not won an Emmy.
That is true.
But you got over
true.
that.
I did get over when I won 2 for Futurama. But that's, and that's, I got very, once you win one, you sort of go, wow, that's nice, but didn't fix anything.
It's so true.
My price didn't go up. I know. In fact, I noticed after I won them, work kind of, but for Futurama, slowed down a little bit because people might have thought, well, he's going to ask for the world now or something. I don't know, but It doesn't, or he's too busy. But when everybody assumes you're too busy, I guess it's like the beautiful girl who, is home every Friday night from high school because everybody thinks that she's been asked out by everybody else, and she doesn't go to the prom. And I don't know why I made that analogy because I don't have a prom dress.
I'll tell you, I mean, one of the things that's nice about having an Emmy is that when people come over to your house, they have fun grabbing it and taking pictures of themselves with it.
Right.
And
the great thing about having two Emmys is that in case you have two intruders that come into the house, you can take them both on because those angel wings are really sharp.
I did find this in my office.
Oh.
It's not just Pinky. It's not just the brain plush, but he's in a Santa outfit and he's holding
the keychain.
Yes. It's a bomb.
It looks like a bomb, doesn't it?
I mean, that's gotta feel good, Peter.
That's a bomb.
That's from your mind, to felt or whatever it's made of.
Yes, indeed.
Unfortunately, not to my pocket.
No,
it's true.
None of us had those deals, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's still to this day. I mean, they have some merchandise I think coming out one of these days from I think what's that company, Super 6 or something like that. They're having some Pinky and the Brain figures coming out, and the brain comes with a little world keychain right there.
Nice.
So there we go.
So he kept it.
Yes, he
kept it all these years.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he was that touched by Pinky.
Well, thank you to once again. This I mean, I couldn't ask. This is definitely a pinch me kind of moment for myself. Watching this episode in my younger days, never in my wildest dreams would I ever think that I would get a chance to watch it with the man who wrote it, and of course the voice of the brain himself. So thank you for taking the time to come with us today and rewatch this episode. It really was a special treat. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I mean, honestly, one of the really the fun things about doing, because there's now that version of Pinky and the Brain is pretty old, and so now the kids who watch the kids who watched it tend to be like in their 30s, like late 30s, and are much more prone to coming up to me and telling me about how they watched it and they loved it. And I almost feel like I hear more about Pinky and the Brain now than I did in the 2000s.
Yeah,
but because the audience,
well, it's true that generation, much like our Noodle Noggin episode, the original one, the Iconoclast, those kids are grown up, and it's a happier ending. They aren't shoving their therapy bills in our face. They're actually telling us thank you for making our childhood.
But that I mean, there's also for me, in the Pinky Brains that I wrote. I tended to be inspired by kind of pop culture, but I didn't really do like parody pop culture so much. So like that the Noodle Noggin one, did you just say the name of it? I forgot. I don't remember. Puppet Rulers?
Puppet Rulers, right?
Yes. Yeah, Puppet Rulers. Was really inspired by the fact that, George Lucas watched Buck Rogers and then he made Star Wars, and he and Steven watched African adventure movies and they made Raiders, right? So they glorified these things from their childhood. So that was kind of the inspiration for making that cartoon. Or when Ross Perot ran for president and we did Meet John Brain, rather than doing direct sort of, pop culture parodies. Obviously there's lots of references kind of thing. For me, it was always, that's Yakko, Wacko, and Dot's job to really get in there, do the full on spoof kind of thing. I liked be doing more of the commentary on the culture that Pinky and Brain did. Yeah. And actually talk about this, there's sort of, I mean, this is another, I probably mentioned this to you guys before, but the two different styles of comedy that Yakko, Wacko, and Dot are silly people in serious situations, right? They go in and they wreak havoc, like the Marx Brothers and Three Stooges and Jerry Lewis and Jim Carrey, that sort of tradition. And Pinky and the Brain are serious people in silly situations, which is more of a Monty Python kind of thing. where everybody's taking it very seriously, but it's preposterous that Brain is, wearing a giant man suit and stuff like that. It's fun. And I just, I love that style of humor. And for me personally, just has a little more depth to it because kind of rings out. I love doing another just writing. Sorry, I'm going off. The Das Mouse episode where they try to raise the hull of the Titanic to make hypnotic pancake batter. It's like I got to write a parody of Crimson Tide and Hunt for Red October and Das Boot. But of course it's all jokey. But the thing is, you can still, if you're young, you can still get into it as an adventure story. It plays like an adventure. And then there's all these layers of kind of satire that kind of on top of it. So that was always fun. Pinky and the Brain was always so. I loved
the idea of playing Brain as though he's in a drama. He's actually and this loopy character he has to share space with, is just thwarting everything. His thwartedness is such a fun note to play. I mean, what actor doesn't feel thwarted in his career? If you don't get the part or whatever it is. So that for me, I love that you had that sensibility in writing it, because to me as an actor, that was so much fun to play.
Yeah, that, and I mean, and then Rob is like a person who can recite Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So can you?
Yeah,
top to bottom.
That's how we bonded. We bonded about who could go furthest in quoting Monty Python to each other before we broke.
Yeah. So
that and the Peter Cook Dudley Moore sketches.
It's the sort of intelligently silly kind of thing. The other one too that really speaks to, now we're going off the Christmas special, but that speaks to their relationship is the one called That Smarts. And it's where Brain decides that the reason he's failing all the time is because Pinky is stupid. And so he builds a machine that will make Pinky smart. That's really hard to operate. But he does it. He makes Pinky smart. And then Pinky starts pointing out the problems with all of Brain's plans, which pisses off the Brain, right? And he yells at Pinky and hurts his feelings. But then the Brain realizes that they need that parity. They need that duality. One of them needs to be stupid. And now Pinky is smarter than the Brain. So the Brain goes and reverses himself in the machine and makes himself stupid. But what he doesn't know is that when he hurt Pinky's feelings, Pinky's like, I don't like being smart. And Pinky had already made himself stupid. And the episode ended with them both being stupid in the cage and unable to operate the machine anymore.
Yeah. But neither one of them knew what they were going to do the next night, I think.
Yeah, but for me, it was like so much about what their relationship was and who's really at fault. And, which is a big debated item,
which one's the genius?
Yeah. Right now, I must get that question at every Comic-Con I do. So what about the theory that Pinky's the genius? And I always say, that's where they call it a theory, my friend. Pinky could not work an infundibulator. So, which I take from that episode, which, by the way, would have made a fantastic series finale if we'd have just held it to be the very last episode.
That's true.
It would have been, well, that's what happened. They're both stupid and they stay in that cage. And
yes. The infundibulator, by the way, is a word that I stole from, I think from Slaughterhouse-Five or Breakfast of Champions. There's a sci-fi thing, and it's called the synocrastic infundibulator that they refer to. I think it's it's Billy Pilgrim. I think that's Slaughterhouse-Five. I don't remember. It's the one with Valerie Perrine in it. And
that was Slaughterhouse-Five. Yeah.
And there's a science guy they keep talking about the synoclastic infundibulator, which is where I stole that word from.
Well, we always love it when you're on because we're able to get to the layering. I think the layering of your writing, Peter, and of Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs is always something that I think it's something that speaks to why the show is so timeless. Why the people that are in their 30s and their 40s are sharing it with their kids, or in our case, we're just sharing it with are friends to this day because of so many different layers, so many different things that we didn't get. The Jungian joke when we were young, haha. But as we get older and we revisit this, we can laugh all over again. And every time we're finding new things in it, and it really is. This is just a fine example of what the pinnacle of Pinky and the Brain Animaniacs can be. So, thank you once again.
Simo, we have some legacy items out there.
Somehow, some way. They'll be around. They'll be watching them long after we are.
Yeah.
Whatever happens to us. Yes.
It's frozen cryogenically to come back in the future, so people
just like frozen peas.
Yes.
They'll be frozen like Findus peas. Did you really mean that?
Sorry, I just heard a gonk from outside. I'm sorry.
What is it, gonk? Do you mind telling me what that is?
Yes, it's a noise. Yes.
I see Mrs. Rogers for a moment, please. It's great. It's great to see you again, Peter.
You
great
too.
To see you and to share this evening with you.
Actually, I met you guys who actually was when we were in San Diego and we were doing Animaniacs live music.
That's right.
Yes, indeed.
With the full band.
Joey's like, I think that's Peter Hastings.
Yes, I still remember this day. Like, is that Peter Hastings up there? And
we're like, I don't know.
Like, I don't know.
Like, what does Peter Hastings look like?
I'm gonna rush the sage and talk to Peter Hastings right now in the pre-show.
Nobody talks to the bass player.
Yeah, exactly. The bass player's just setting up. I gotta hand this bass player my card. Well, thank you to once again for. I think before we wrap things up and wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, we should get to any kind of contact information where you guys can be found online. So, Maurice, where can people find you online?
Well, okay. First, I actually have Peter's home address right here. I'm just calling it up in my contacts because I don't think he's on social media. So here it is. No, you can communicate with me on Twitter at Maurice LaMarche, all one word, at Maurice LaMarche, MauriceLamarche, or on the Instagram, I'm at Maurice_LaMarche, and look for me on Facebook. I've got a fan page on there as well, and that's where I'm findable.
Okay,
I'm mainly on the Instagram just as Peter Hastings, although my Instagram is not my life story. It's really a photography exhibit.
His photography, by the way, is absolutely phenomenal, folks. Check him out. He's an amazing photographer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Kelly, what about you?
I'm on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODA_PRNCSS.
And Nathan?
Checking it. Twitter's still around. Django FT. That's me.
All right. And as for the Animanicast, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and a bunch of other things as a backup, depending on which of these things all go kaput. So thank you once again, Mo. Thank you, Peter. This I can't say enough how much this means to us, and I'm sure to the fans as well who are listening. For Nathan and Kelly and Mo and Peter, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Grrr.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
Just act natural, Pinky.
Right, Brain. La 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 la! Zord! Laugh! Point! Hey, God!
Pinky, not that natural.